Guys, welcome back to a new video and I hope that you all are doing good. In this video we'll actually talk about the whole Zcash bubble that is been going on right now and why you should not basically buy into this bubble. Now, if you are just considering Zcash to be just another financial asset or just like a meme coin which can give you a quick pump or a quick dump, then there is basically no point of watching this video, because in this video we will actually deep dive into those things or the basis of actual privacy coin, because Zcash is nowhere a privacy coin. Now most of you all will actually be saying, why should we not buy Zcash? Because if you're technically betting on a utility coin, you have to bet on its utility. You are not betting on a meme coin, right? But again, as I said, that if you're considering Zcash to just be a meme coin, to just give you a quick pump or a quick dump, to just basically sort of make you money, right, then there is no point of watching this video. Anyways, if we take a look into the Zcash right now, it has still not crossed its all-time high, but it is given significantly huge gains, because it is right now at 213 bucks. It is at basically a market cap of 3.46 billion dollar. I think 2 days ago it was at only 2 billion bucks. So it has significantly increased within just 2 days. Almost $1.5 billion has been added to the whole Zcash system. Now, before showing you the main article of this video, which was posted by the Times of Israel, where they actually talked about how the Zcash is actually an Israeli developed virtual money which is starting to make its mark. Now, one of the things that most people don't really get while buying into these utility based coins, even if we talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, or even if we talk about Solana as well, or any of these coins which are actually meant to provide your utility, they just bet on the future. They never really bet on the present. If we talk about Bitcoin, we are all betting on Bitcoin because it is the currency of the future, but it is not really being used in the present. But if you talk about coins like Solana or even Ethereum, that is something whose utility is actually being utilized in the present, and it can be better for the future as well. Anyways, let's just take a look at few of these privacy coins right now, Monero being the number one, and it is pretty logical for Monero to be number one there. Now, I'm not a Monero advocate or Monero bull poster, but this is something which is simply logical, whose utility is being utilized in the present, as well as its utility will be utilized in the future as well. Betting on Zcash or betting on coins like Bitcoin is like betting on future. You never really know what is going to happen, or when the institutions will sort of just completely dump all of their gold money into Bitcoin strategic reserve and sort of just take control over the price action of Bitcoin. You never really know whatever is going to happen in the future for these coins. And I don't consider Zcash to be something which can be taken as a privacy coin, or the people working at Zcash are these privacy advocates. Just for an example, I will actually show you that the people out there promoting XMR or Monero, they don't have their real faces on their profile pics. Or now I'm talking about the majority, I'm not talking about the minorities. There are many people who also support XMR and they have their families uploaded on the internet as well. Let's just take a look at few of these guys like Jake XMR. He doesn't have his real face attached to his PFP. Just take a look at me. I'm wearing a fucking Indian scammer mask, right? And I don't have my face on the internet, and I can basically show you my gallery as well. I use a Pixel 10 with Graphene OS. So I do care about my privacy, even though I know that my data might not be that important, but it can be in the future, who knows, right? So this guy doesn't have his real face on the internet. That tells me that he's actually a privacy advocate. He actually cares about his privacy in the world of bits. And let's just scroll through. Okay, so there is this Zuku guy. I was talking to a family member about the price of Zcash going up. I said one good thing about it is it convinces the makers of the other products that people really care about their privacy and freedom. This guy has his real face on the internet, and he thinks that he cares about his privacy on the internet. Amazing. Anyways, Torrens, whatever, he's the advisor to the whole Zcash system, I think, as well. Zcash advisory panel, he's one of those guys. He also has his real face on the internet. That just tells me that most people supporting Zcash don't really care about their privacy on the internet. So how they will basically be an advocate for privacy? Now most of these cypherpunks, even, they have their faces uploaded on the internet because they were into many of these concerts or these speeches or these interviews or these podcasts, right? But if we are talking, and if you're considering everyone to be a part of a system that cares a lot about their privacy, I would actually expect people to not show their faces online or to not show their families online. Not because there are evil people in the world of bits as well, but because they have to care about their privacy online, it is a very important thing. Now if I talk about one of these new things that are happening, because whenever there is actually a perspective or an ideology shift, or an old ideology is getting revived, which ideology is very ethical, very morally strong and very beneficial to the people, these elites or these powerful satanic guys always find a way to sort of fill in their own pockets and to have a control over that category as well. Zcash is the biggest example of that. So currently what's happening right now is that the whole digital ID program is being rolled out. There will be a DNA sequenced at birth for the newborns. So basically, if there is a newborn baby, he has to get his DNA uploaded digitally online. There will be a digital ID. So let's say if we talk about a very famous virus called the COVID, which you all will know about already. There was this whole program called the COVID-19 vaccine, which was made obligatory for all, right? Which was basically, if you are not getting a COVID vaccine, you cannot go to your job, you cannot go to your normal shops. If you're not wearing a mask, you cannot basically roam around publicly or basically roam around freely, right? So they gave you this illusion of protecting you, or this illusion of freedom, and then they completely invaded your own privacy. So digital ID just make that thing more centralized and easy to just shut off, because you have all of your digital password, you have a digital license, you have a digital ID which is linked to all of this, and they will just shut off your digital ID because you just didn't obey them. This AI enhanced surveillance tools, you saw all of these major surgical strikes or targeted drone assassination that happened because of these AI enhanced surveillance tools, which is currently being developed by a very famous company called Palantir in USA, or this CBDC, centralized banking digital currency, which I already talked about in my previous video. All of these things will reduce privacy in the world of bits, as well as, because the world of bits now has the connection to the world of atoms, it will decrease privacy by a lot. So now there will be people like me, or the people who are watching this video, just sort of questioning this reality or this simulation, that does freedom even exist, or does the privacy even exist? Now we are the people who know the full truth, right? But there are many people on the internet who only just rely on this half truth, and half truth is basically dangerous than a full lie, right? So those people that only know the half truth, that have only just sort of just seen these people promoting Zcash, Ansem promoting Zcash, Mert promoting Zcash, or all of these famous KOLs promoting Zcash, which are very influential. When they see these guys, they just completely dump their money into Zcash. They just think that they have invested into the next big thing. What else that they truly don't know is that they have invested into a psyop, right? So people talking about so now we have talked a lot of these psychological facts, or a lot of these things which will happen in the future, or which are currently being implemented as well. We all know that how our privacy is getting invaded online, right? How Microsoft right now will actually just sort of make this location on thing by default. These are multiple things that are happening right now which completely invades your privacy online. So technically, even if you become a very good person, or if you become very influential, and if you were born in this era where the privacy was getting invaded, you cannot really do these things online or offline without having any restriction, right? Because if you will do anything which will be beyond the boundaries of these people controlling the world, they will simply just shut you off very easily. They won't have to just murder you, they won't have to just sort of threaten you, they will just simply shut off, right? So if we talk about the whole, let's just talk about the things which are on chain, and why I think that even the on chain system is completely manipulated or ruined for the whole Zcash ecosystem or blockchain. So basically, for this whole zero knowledge proof system, or basically for the Zcash blockchain, the privacy is optional. This is just so ridiculous and so weird that you are marketing something to be an advocate for privacy, to make users very private on the internet, and you are just saying that our USP is a privacy coin, but the privacy is optional. Like, it is like marketing a gaming coin and saying that the gaming is optional. It is like marketing an AI coin and saying that the AI thing is optional, or the RWA coin, and you're just saying that having real world assets is just optional. So if I am buying into something, I want that USP by default, right? Like Solana, if Solana is marketing its ecosystem to be very fast, most people are using Solana because it is fast. Most people used Solana for meme coins because it had a very good user experience. It was very fast and it was very less costly, even though it was not that decentralized, right? But most people never really cared about decentralization on Solana because they never really bought into Solana because of decentralization. They bought into Solana because it was fast, it had very low gas fees, and it just had a better user experience, right? So if we talk about Monero, let's say, because we will be comparing Monero with Zcash, because I don't want that all of these people get manipulated and just sort of dump their money into Zcash. Now nobody is selling Monero to buy Zcash, nobody is doing that. Monero is a completely community driven or a retail driven project, and basically we just kicked our founders, or we kicked the founder of Monero basically after few months after he actually created Monero, I think. But when Zcash was launched, 20% of the block rewards for the first 4 years went completely to founders and early investors, and basically the people of that foundation. That just tells me that if there is a 20% dev tax on Zcash, which it is currently, you have to, all of those block rewards, the 20% of that block rewards actually go towards the devs, right? So it is considered to be a corporate enrichment, or whatever you want to call it, right? It is something which is being controlled by Electric Coin Company, which is a centralized entity. So technically, Zcash's whole system is centralized. The privacy on Zcash is completely optional. It is not something which is turned on by default like Monero. Because why I love Monero and why I have almost 80% of my portfolio in Monero right now. I previously had 70%, and my target to achieve on Monero was like $3,000, and I would have sold few. But right now my target on Monero is not 10x, it is almost 100x, or I think that it can even go up to more when people actually discover whatever is happening with CBDC right now, when people actually discover the manipulation behind the Bitcoin strategic reserves, and when we actually sort of see this cypherpunk 2.0 movement. I think that we will see this movement because of the things that are happening right now. Privacy is completely getting invaded. People will shift towards being more private, as they did when the internet was first created, and most people were then onboarding on the internet. Most institutions and the governments, then the media channels and all, were getting on the internet. There was this huge cypherpunk movement back in the days, just to provide anonymity to the users, just to provide privacy to the users. And I do think that that same revolutionary movement will come again. And that is the major reason why I hate Zcash and I love Monero, because Monero is completely private. And I actually came across one of these videos of Peter Thiel, I think, and he basically said that the people at FBI are very happy when a criminal does a transaction with Bitcoin, because it is very easily traceable. Your identity is not protected with it. Most people will actually think that even though it is not completely anonymous, it is pseudonymous, your identity will be protected. No, it is not protected. People who want to catch these criminals, they basically get caught very easily. Now if they are using these tumblers, which is very very expensive to use, and it just takes a lot of time, and those normal criminals who are not doing much or not making much on the Tor network or in the dark net, they just can't really use these tumblers. It is not that cost efficient, or it just takes a lot of time for them, right? So now these people get caught very easily, even if they are just sort of using these 2 or 3 transactions as fake transactions or as decoys to basically manipulate their real transactions within those transactions to sort of get untraceable. Nobody just sort of get into that complication, because now they can just use Monero for that, right? So I recently actually came across this tweet of Gainsey where he was talking with this intellectual sounding guy called Arjun, and he was basically just saying how Zcash is just better than Monero overall, and how Monero just uses this this 4-bit mechanism where these 16 decoy transactions are being just thrown in the chain to sort of manipulate the real transaction within them. It is a huge thing to do. Anyways, let's just listen to what he said.
So why Zcash over Monero?
Monero, basically, it has a 4-bit security model. They have 16 decoys, which they actually mix in with the real transaction. So they actually broadcast the real transaction details. They just blend it in with other 16 fake transactions. And so the anonymity set is literally 1 in 16, right? And that is all.
The anonymity set is 116, yeah? Well, it is a huge deal. At least the privacy is not optional. At least my privacy cannot get leaked on the internet. At least whatever I'm doing is cost effective. Even the IRS or even the people at FBI actually offered up to $600,000 to build these tools to breach into Monero's network very efficiently, and nobody could create these tools. Now there was this cubic attack that I can name, but there were many technicalities to those attacks. These people resigned after a few hours of that attack because it was almost $75 million a day to maintain that attack. And there are much more technicalities to that because XMR is a community driven project, and of course new updates rolled out. There was never a counter attack. These attacks have already been happened on coins like Bitcoin Cash or Ethereum Cash or much more coins like these which are more valuable than it. Anyways, let's just hear more of it.
I haven't seen like any serious cryptographer ever talk.
I don't know what Edward Snowden talked about. I think he was a pretty serious guy. All of these hackers, they know about Monero. All of the criminals that are on darknet, they know about Monero. Now I'm talking about criminals. I don't relate with their activities, but they are probably the only people who care more about privacy than us.
Talk about like Monero's privacy being, sufficiently good to protect you. Especially now with AI, it's just going to automate all the pattern recognition and just be able to trace all of that very easily. Even Chain Analysis did this video, I think for the IRS.
Yeah, Chain Analysis did the video, but they couldn't create the tools.
Just showing them literally how to trace Monero transactions and how they.
If these people are so confident tracing the Monero's transaction, why couldn't they trace a transaction of a guy who's running his own node, who has a good OPSEC, and who basically knows how to use Monero? They could never really just, there has to be some kind of a loophole which doesn't relate with the whole Monero's ecosystem, but it is the user's own mistake just by leaking out his behavior, leaking out his language, leaking out the region where he lives, or sort of just the way that he interacts with people on the Tor network. That is thing that basically leaks out or basically act as a loophole for these criminal catchers. Else nobody could never really get caught on the Monero's network if he is running his own node. If he is a bit knowledgeable, he knows how to use Monero, and he has a good OPSEC, he can never really get caught.
They can do it for like 60 or 80% of all transactions on Monero. And it's funny, like even Arthur Hayes was saying like years ago, the FBI told him that Monero's the most private cryptocurrency. And I'm like, I wonder why, people are like, oh, but drug dealers use Monero and nobody uses ZCASH. I wouldn't take any advice from drug dealers really, but it's.
Well, I would take advice from a drug dealer. I would take an advice from a criminal. If he talks about privacy, I would take advice from him, because these are the most anonymous people on the earth. After those rich families that are controlling most part of the world, these are the most anonymous people of the world, because most of these people doing these criminal activities on the darknet, there can be these two scenarios. First is that there are these newcomers, and second is that there are these criminals who have done many crimes on the darknet itself, and these people specifically are very careful with the things that they are doing on the darknet, the transactions that they are making on the darknet, because even the slightest mistake on the darknet will sort of cause this chain reaction which will open up their previous crimes as well, and then they will basically be risking their life, their family and everything, just because of a very small or a very simple mistake that they made. And the others are basically these newcomers. Now all of these newcomers rarely get caught because this is their first time interacting on the dark web, so it is hard for the pattern to get recognized, and if they get caught, it is completely because of a very careless mistake that they made. So it is basically impossible to catch a guy on Monero if he has a good OPSEC. Most of these carelessness are basically done outside the Monero's network. It can be their usual behavior, the language that they are interacting with the other people on the Tor network. It can be many things, but those things have nothing to do with Monero's network. So yeah, the purpose of this video was that why I am all in on Monero and why I hate ZCASH. And it is not because I hate ZCASH because the privacy is optional, but because it is marketed to be something as a privacy coin where privacy is optional. It's just amazing how it's getting regularized, legalized, and being adopted by these centralized exchanges, getting controlled by these elites and these powerful people, because they know that they can't really stick their fingers in the Monero system. So they have to create this thing and sort of just pump this thing to basically manipulate those guys who only know the half truth to get into that thing, right? I don't want you all to get manipulated into buying something which is not private at all. You guys should buy Monero. You guys should buy something which is completely retail driven, which is genuinely getting utilized, whose utility is actually being utilized. ZCASH utility I don't think that it will ever get genuinely utilized. Anyways, I hope that you all enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Again, if you're buying Zcash just for a quick pump or a dump and you're just considering it to be a meme coin, you can buy into that. But if you are buying its utility, then never buy Zcash. It is just a bubble. It is just something which is completely manipulated. It is just something which is manipulating you all as well.